Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for ISEP's Health, Safety, and Emergency Pre-Departure webinar. My name is Gretchen McCarthy, and I am a Student Services Officer at ISEP, and I also serve on our Health, Safety, and Emergency Task Force, and I will let my colleague introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Grace Glancy. I am also a Student Services Officer at ISEP, and I also serve on ISEP's Health, Safety, and Emergency Task Force.
Thank you, Grace. So in today's presentation, we're going to go over how you can prepare for a safe experience abroad, some things that you should know during the pre-departure phase, and what you need to do upon arrival at your host university, some things to keep in mind regarding COVID. We'll review ISEP's protocols and policies for health and safety situations. We'll also go over emergencies abroad and what you should do in an emergency situation, as well as what is expected of you. And then lastly, we'll show you where you can find ISEP's health and safety resources. So how can you prepare for a safe experience abroad? Most importantly, you want to review the pre-departure information in your ISEP dashboard. So this includes your acceptance package, your pre-departure information section, and your health and safety information. The acceptance package and the pre-departure information contain a lot of information on your program. And then in your health and safety information tab, you'll find information on emergency contacts, including your host coordinator, local medical and mental health resources, as well as ISEP's emergency number. You're also required to enroll in ISEP's health insurance in your ISEP dashboard. You should also make copies of your important original documents, including your passport, visa, any other ID cards that you have, your insurance card, etc. It's always a good idea to keep these printed in just in a printed copy, maybe in your carry-on or on you when you go around your host city or when you travel. And then you should also keep a copy on an online storage system such as Google Drive. Lastly, you should enroll in the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, otherwise known as STEP, if you are a U.S. citizen going abroad, or if you are not a U.S. citizen, you should look for your home country's alert system for travelers abroad. So how can you stay healthy while abroad? If you take prescription medicines, we recommend that you order enough of that medication for your entire program period. So if the first thing will be to make sure that the prescription is allowed into your host country, and if it is, make sure you bring enough for your entire program. And then if it's not allowed, make sure that you find out how you can make alterations with your physician. You should also not change or stop taking prescribed medication unless directed by a physician. Make sure that you schedule any required immunizations prior to departure if they are necessary. Also try to schedule any routine appointments before you go abroad, just like visiting the dentist, a regular doctor's checkup, or seeing the eye doctor. If you use a mental health therapist at this time before your program, try to see if you could continue your sessions virtually while you're abroad, or if not, see another way that you could continue care while abroad. Beyond the suggested physical and mental health care resources in your health and safety section of your ISEP dashboard, you can also contact On Call International to receive a list of recommended providers in your host city. And you can find On Call International's contact information on your ISEP insurance card, which can be downloaded from the ISEP insurance tab of your dashboard. So, what should you do when you arrive at your host university? You'll want to register with your home country's embassy in your host country. Make sure you fill out your local emergency contact information in your ISEP dashboard. So this is not the number that you use in your home country, unless that is going to work in your host country. It should be a number and email address where we can contact you in your host country during your program. Make sure that you add any emergency contacts to your phone and also keep these on a paper copy. So these would include your host coordinator's contact information, ISEP's 24-hour emergency line, your host country's emergency services number, and then as well as your address and phone number abroad. So when we say that we would like you to update your contact information to your local contact information, you can go into your ISEP dashboard in the While Abroad section, click on provide your contact information as you see here, and then enter your address, your phone number, and your email address where you can be reached during your program. So again, this should not be your number if it's what you use in your home country. If it will not work in your host country, it should be something that will work in your host country and where you can be contacted during your program. Okay, and I will pass it to Grace to continue.
Thank you, Gretchen. So now we are going to discuss protocols and policies while abroad. Okay, so student responsibilities. Please remember while abroad that your decisions have a big impact on your health and safety. So it is extremely important to use your common sense and, when in doubt, play it safe. In terms of the Student Code of Conduct, the Student Code of Conduct is located in your ISEP acceptance package in detail. So we strongly encourage you to thoroughly review this information before departing for your program. Please keep in mind that you are responsible for abiding by these rules and regulations at your home and host university. If you have any questions on the Code of Conduct, please let your Student Services Officer know. Please be aware that the laws in your host country may be different from the laws in your home country. Failure to complete medical assessment or disclose information has caused health and safety problems abroad. So please make sure to fill out your medical form in your acceptance package, and please let your Student Services Officer know if you have any questions. So insurance and healthcare abroad. For your ISEP insurance, all students going on an ISEP program are required to have ISEP insurance of different levels depending on the requirements of your host country. You can see this information in the medical section in your ISEP acceptance package. If you have any questions on the enrollment requirements of your host country, please let your Student Services Officer know. ISEP's health insurance company is ASRM. And we also use, as Gretchen mentioned, On Call International, which provide travel assistance, evacuation, and repatriation insurance. We also have brochures for each of these insurances on our website for more information on the coverage that is offered. So for your insurance, ISEP health insurance covers students outside of their home country within the dates of enrollment that are listed on your insurance card. As Gretchen mentioned, you can see your insurance card and letter of coverage once you've enrolled in your ISEP insurance in your insurance tab on your ISEP dashboard. Normally, if you have a non-emergency medical problem, you will first visit the University Health Center or local clinic. You can find more information about local healthcare resources and services available to you in the health and safety section on your ISEP dashboard. And this information will also be reviewed when you arrive to your program through your orientation. For medical emergencies after hours, it is generally recommended that you visit a local hospital. This information is also included in your health and safety tab. But if you have any questions on the services or medical resources available to you, you can let your host ISEP coordinator know. Please keep in mind that outside of the United States, typically you are required to pay for your medical expenses yourself and then submit a claim to request reimbursement. You can find more information on how to submit a claim on the ISEP website, and you can also reach out to our insurance department, which is insurance@isep.org. Please keep in mind that On Call International can arrange direct payment between ISEP's insurance provider, ASRM, and the medical provider for large outpatient and inpatient claims. As we mentioned, if you need assistance with these arrangements, please contact On Call International as soon as possible, and their contact information, as Gretchen mentioned, is on your insurance card. We also have more information on contact information on the insurance webpage on our website. And as we mentioned, there is more information on our website for all aspects of ISEP insurance. In terms of COVID, which I know many of us are probably tired of talking about at this point, it is extremely important that you still look up the COVID regulations and requirements of both your host country and your host university. Different requirements could include proof of vaccination, a negative PCR test before travel to your host country, and health forms to be completed prior to arrival. And there also may be additional requirements specific to your host university or housing provider. So please make sure to check your ISEP special conditions, which is in the contract tab of your acceptance package, for more information on these regulations or where you can find this information. Please keep in mind that policies are ever changing, so please make sure to stay updated on any local or national regulations. And please know that these restrictions may look different in your host country from your home country. So please make sure to ask your student services officer or host ISEP coordinator if you have any questions on these regulations. So health insurance and COVID. Any medically appropriate COVID-19 treatment is covered at no cost. This could include doctor's visits, prescription medications, hospitalization. Your ISEP health insurance covers all medically appropriate COVID-19 testing outside your home country at no cost share, only when ordered by a physician or healthcare professional. So these COVID-19 PCR and antibody tests are covered at no cost, but please keep in mind that you must have a note by a physician or a healthcare professional that these tests were ordered in order to submit a claim for these tests. Please keep in mind that tests required for travel are not covered by ISEP health insurance. If quarantine or self-isolation is ordered by a healthcare professional, your ISEP health insurance will cover any extra costs. For more information on how COVID-19 regulations and policies work with your ISEP insurance, please make sure to look at the COVID-19 frequently asked questions on our website. So health and safety abroad. So what is expected of you while you are abroad? Please be aware of local hazards, and this will change depending on where you are located in your host country. This could include natural disasters, physical hazards, environmental hazards, as well as social hazards. So please make sure you're taking responsibility for your personal safety. In an emergency, please make sure to follow official instructions of local authorities and of your host university. It is extremely important that you always check your email as well as the contact information that you provided in your health and safety tab for all important communications from both ISEP, your host university, and your home university. And as a reminder, as per the ISEP communication plan, we relay this information between students, home, and host institutions, so it's extremely important that you keep all parties notified in the case of an emergency. So personal safety while abroad, it is extremely important to use common sense. So please pay attention to security warnings, blend in, make sure you follow the local social norms. If you have questions on what these norms are, please ask your host coordinator, but this will also be reviewed in your orientation after you arrive to campus. Please make sure to practice safe and responsible use of alcohol if you choose to drink and if you are of the legal drinking age in your host country. Please be aware of your surroundings at all times. Please travel in pairs or small groups rather than alone, especially at night. Please make sure to ask your host coordinator in orientation where the best and safest areas are, as well as the best and safest way to travel at night in your host community. Please avoid bad neighborhoods. Please do not attend protests, rallies, or strikes. Please mind your pockets, use travel wallets or safes to keep your valuables safe. If you sense a potentially dangerous situation, please remove yourself immediately. And please look to your ISEP host coordinators, locals, and local students for information about safety around your host university and while traveling. And this is why it is incredibly important to pay attention in your on-site orientation and ask any questions should you have them. So mental health while abroad, regardless of whether you have a pre-existing mental health condition, you may struggle with mental wellness while you are abroad. Contributing factors to mental health while abroad can include adjusting to an unfamiliar culture, which can result in culture shock, a change of academic environment, changes in your routine, or a new or lack of support systems or support systems that are different than those that you have in your home country. All of these can lead to increased loneliness, homesickness, anxiety, and/or depression. It's extremely important that you consider how are you going to manage your mental health while abroad. You should anticipate your needs and make plans for supporting those needs in order to take prevention steps. If you are currently receiving therapy or clinical support while at home at your home university or home country, it may help to develop a mental health travel plan with your provider and make sure that you can receive support while you are abroad. If you are unable to receive the same support you're receiving at home, please inquire with your student services officer or ISEP host coordinator what services are available to you in your host country. If you experience significant difficulties while abroad, know and utilize your resources, which include your ISEP student services officer, your host university coordinator, resources at your host university, and resources in your host country or city. As we mentioned previously, these resources are in the Health and Safety Information tab, as well as you'll be sent this information by your host ISEP coordinator and shown this information during your orientation when you arrive on campus. If you're in a situation where you think a friend is having a mental health issue, please suggest to your friend to speak with local counseling services to alert their student services officer at ISEP and or their host coordinator. Immediately contact your host coordinator, ISEP, and or local emergency services if you are concerned that your friend is at risk of harming themselves or others. And as a reminder, we also have our 24/7 ISEP emergency line, so you can always, and we encourage you to reach out to us through our emergency line as well. So sexual harassment and assault. In order to minimize risk to yourself and others abroad, it is extremely important to educate yourself about local cultural norms and establish your own comfort levels. Please keep in mind that local perception of consent can differ depending on country and host country that you're in. Please practice situational awareness, so trust your intuition and remove yourself from unsafe or uncomfortable situations. As we mentioned previously, we encourage you to travel in groups and use the buddy system. Additionally, we encourage you to practice bystander intervention, direct, distract, delegate. So directly intervening in the moment to prevent a situation from happening, asking directly to the individual at risk can help you determine if an action needs to be taken immediately to ensure a safe environment. Distract, interrupting the situation without directly confronting the offender. And delegate, seeking help from another individual, often someone who is authorized to represent others, such as a police officer or a campus official or your ISEP host coordinator. If you have any questions on any of this information or where to find additional information or resources, please reach out to your host ISEP coordinator. And as a reminder, you have the information in your health and safety tab on your ISEP dashboard. And now I'm going to pass it back to Gretchen.
Thank you, Grace. Okay, so what should you do if you are in an emergency situation? Please make sure to follow local media and law enforcement instructions, especially in large-scale events. If necessary, you should seek immediate medical attention from local emergency services. Please remember that you have the number for local emergency services in your ISEP dashboard. And you should keep in mind who your first points of contact are during an emergency. So if you're in an emergency situation, first you should contact in-country police and emergency responders. They will be the best people to assist in a true emergency. You should then contact your host ISEP coordinator who is on the ground in your location who can also assist. And then you should contact ISEP's emergency line, which is answered 24/7. Okay, so in terms of ISEP health and safety resources, all of them are linked here on our website. You can find ISEP's health and safety policy, our student privacy policy, and information about personal safety abroad. We also encourage you to review your country handbook for where you will be studying. Also review the student health insurance information that we have. This includes the benefits and how to submit a claim if you need to. We also have a lot of resources on our diversity, inclusion, and accessibility abroad page. If you have any questions or concerns during your program, you can always email diversity@isep.org. And then if you experience a bias incident issue, please feel free to report using our bias incident reporting form, which is linked here. And then lastly, in your ISEP dashboard, you will fill out the self-assessment medical form to complete your ISEP acceptance package. And then you can find other resources in the Get Ready to Go tab, your Health and Safety Information tab, and the Provide Your Contact Information tab. Please remember, for the Provide Your Contact Information tab, this is the contact information where you can be reached abroad during your program. Okay, so here are some other useful links for more information. We do recommend, as we said before, looking at travel advisories from your home country's government and the website for your home country's embassy abroad. You can also look at the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC's website, as well as U.S. Embassy COVID-19 pages, the World Health Organization, and the official tourism site for your host country. And that is all for our health and safety presentation. If you have any questions, please contact your Student Services Officer at ISEP. As a reminder, this is the number for ISEP's emergency line. We hope you have a safe and exciting time abroad. Thank you, everyone.